It's fair to say that Russia has utterly failed to control the Black Sea. What should have been a relatively safe space that the country could use to demonstrate its naval superiority over Ukraine has become a dead zone for Russia's ships. The country's dreaded Black Sea fleet is barely present after Ukraine's missiles and drones destroyed a third of it. And now Ukraine has plenty of clear paths across the Black Sea and into key ports and terminals that Vladimir Putin relies upon to ship Russia's oil. On November 14th, Ukraine took advantage of those paths that it had cleared. Ukraine ripped through Russian defenses and obliterated Putin's Black Sea fortress, taking out several key assets in the process. The first of those assets is a big one: an entire oil terminal. The night of November 14th saw Ukraine unleash a devastating barrage of drones and, as Reuters reports, Neptune missiles on the Black Sea port of Novorossiysk. That port, which is operated by the Russian pipeline company Transneft, is responsible for a substantial volume of the oil that Russia exports to other parts of the world, in addition to being a receiving port for oil products coming into Russia. Putin needs that port operating at full capacity. Ukraine's aerial assault just shut it down. The entire port stopped shipping or receiving oil in the wake of Ukraine's overnight drone attack, and it's all thanks to some of Ukraine's most elite units working together. The Kyiv Post reports that a source within the Security Service of Ukraine, or SBU, says that the November 14th strike was a team effort. That unnamed source, who works within SBU's Alpha unit, says that the SBU worked alongside Ukraine's main Directorate of Intelligence, or HUR, as well as the country's Border Guard Service, Special Operations Forces, and some of its naval artillery units. This was no flight of fancy strike. With so many units working alongside one another, it's clear that Ukraine spent a lot of time and effort planning the attack on Novorossiysk, and on November 14th, it struck with devastating efficiency. By the end of Ukraine's drone and missile blitz, loading stands had been damaged, pumping systems and pipeline infrastructure were no more, and a massive fire blazed out of one of Russia's most important oil shipping ports. That's not bad for a single night's work. Surprisingly, more confirmation of Ukraine's success came from an unexpected source: Russia itself. More specifically, the Krasnodar region's emergency headquarters took to Telegram to explain what it was dealing with in the wake of Ukraine's drone and missile assault. In Novorossiysk, an oil depot at the Sheskharis transshipment complex was damaged as a result of a drone attack by the Kyiv regime. Onshore facilities were also damaged, the headquarters said, before concluding, efforts to repel the drone attack are ongoing. Those efforts weren't successful. Sheskharis is the name of the specific facility that Ukraine hit in Novorossiysk, and it's a pretty major facility. Established in 1964, it's one of the largest oil transshipment hubs in southern Russia, and it deals in both crude and refined oil products. With 30 crude oil tanks, the facility has a total capacity of 820,000 cubic meters, the Kyiv Post reports, along with several reservoirs dedicated to various types of fuel oil. Reuters adds that the terminal was active enough to ship 761,000 barrels of oil per day back in October, which amounts to about 3.22 million tons daily. Keep these figures in mind. We'll be revisiting them later in the video. For once, Russia hasn't tried to act like the attack didn't happen, though the Kyiv Post mentions that it's trotted out the tired old drone debris excuse once again. It's always strange that Ukraine's drones managed to cause so much damage beyond never scoring a direct hit, according to Russia. It makes you wonder what would happen if a drone or missile did actually hit its target. Of course, we don't have to wonder. Drone debris is Russia's way of saying, Ukraine just got us again. And if you need any proof of that, the footage emerging from the Novorossiysk terminal should be more than enough. In the wake of Ukraine's strike, the Xelenova Plus Telegram channel shared so many photographs and videos that make the results of Ukraine's strike undeniable. The 4 photographs showcase massive fires blazing at Sheskharis. As for the videos, they offer much the same view. The highlight is a 40-second piece of footage that showcases just how much smoke is billowing from the facility as a blaze that illuminates the night sky is seen underneath. We don't see any of Ukraine's drones hit, but fires this large aren't caused by mere drone debris. A little more damage was caused beyond the terminal itself, the Kyiv Post says in its report. It claims that local authorities are suggesting that a civilian vessel in the port was hit, leading to injuries for 3 crew members, who all ended up being hospitalized. It's difficult to determine the veracity of this claim. While it isn't outside the realm of possibility that civilian vessels are operating in Novorossiysk, the Sheskharis facility's status as an oil terminal means that it's far more likely that any ship that was hit on November 14th was part of the shadow fleet that Putin has been using to keep illicit oil money flowing into Russia. For Ukraine, shadow fleet ships are likely legitimate targets, as they wouldn't exist were it not for the Ukraine war. Russia also claims that debris from destroyed drones struck several apartment buildings in Novorossiysk, with one case seeing a fragment of a drone pierce an apartment building and injure a man. Debris also fell into courtyards and shattered apartment building windows, Russia claims. None of this information is confirmed by an independent source. But the headline strike is the one that Ukraine conducted in Shkaris. An entire oil terminal ended up burning so badly that the Russian state-owned company that operates the terminal was forced to shut it down. That's a pretty major win for Ukraine, and on any other night it would have been enough. But November 14th wasn't any other night. And Shkaris wasn't the only target that went up in flames. In a separate report, the Kyiv Post says that Ukraine managed to exploit massive holes in Russia's Novorossiysk defenses to take out several S-400 air defense systems and radars that those systems use to identify incoming targets. That is humiliating for Russia. These systems are supposed to be the very weapons that Russia can use to take out Ukraine's incoming drones and missiles. But on November 14th, they failed so badly that several of them were taken down. Excelenova Plus provided more information. In a Telegram post, it revealed that Ukraine targeted an entire S-400 deployment, and its drones were remarkably effective. The outlet shared satellite images, one from November 11th and one from November 15th, that showed the devastation that Ukraine managed to cause in a single night on November 14th. The CSO Alpha successfully destroyed 4 launches of the S-400 Triumph air defense system located on the territory of the 1537th Anti-Aircraft Missile Regiment, the Telegram channel said. Not one S-400, not even 2. 4 of Russia's premier air defense systems were destroyed in Ukraine's overnight strike. And it may have been even worse for Russia, as the channel explains. In total, there were about 12 S-400 launches at the site, and there's a high probability that most of them were also damaged, claims Excelenova Plus. So Russia's best-case scenario here is that it's lost a third of its Novorossiysk deployment of S-400 air defense systems. If Excelenova Plus is right, several more than a third of those systems may also be damaged, which could mean they've been taken offline until repairs can be carried out. Those repairs could be a tall order for Putin. It was only in September that Russia went begging to Turkey to buy back some of its S-400s it had sold years ago. If Russia is trying to buy S-400s, likely at a marked-up price, from a former customer, that doesn't bode well for its ability to repair the S-400s it has if they've been damaged, as Excelenova Plus says they might have been. By the way, we published a full report on Russia's desperate buyback attempt in September. Check out the video to learn more about what Putin wanted and what that offer meant for both Russia and Turkey. Let's come back to the at least 4 S-400s that Russia has lost. Despite the fact that Ukraine's drones proved so effective against these air defenses on November 14th, they are supposed to be among the best that Russia has to offer. Both Missile Threat and Army Technology report on them as being among the best air defense systems in the world. According to Missile Threat, the S-400 Triumph, which carries the NATO codename SA-21 Growler, is a mobile surface-to-air missile system that is supposed to be able to take down aircraft, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and drones. The latter seems like a strange claim given what happened in Novorossiysk, and it shows us that either Ukraine's drones are too good for Russia's defenses to handle them, or that Russia has been vastly overstating the effectiveness of its S-400 for years. If it's the latter, Russia has found out the hard way that true combat testing is the only way to determine if the fantastical claims it makes about its weapons hold any water. Those claims appear to include a suggestion that the S-400 is roughly equivalent to the Patriot air defense system that has proven so effective for Ukraine since Putin launched his invasion. The system is capable of launching missiles that carry one of 2 types of warheads. The first is the 48N6, which is a high-explosive fragmentation warhead designed to tear targets to shreds and perhaps deal with hordes of incoming targets. The 77N6, on the other hand, is a hit-to-kill warhead created for precision strikes. Both warheads weigh 143 kilograms, or around 315 pounds. Army Technology adds that the S-400 is meant to be capable of engaging all targets that come within its range of 400 kilometers, or about 248 miles. It can also hit those targets at altitudes of up to 30 kilometers, or 18.6 miles, which should mean that missiles and fighter jets shouldn't be capable of avoiding S-400 fire by flying too high over the system. The S-400 can also engage 36 targets simultaneously, again seemingly making it a good choice for dealing with Ukraine's drone assaults. If all of this is the case, then the question has to be asked, how did Ukraine manage to take out at least 4 of these formidable air defense systems using drones on November 14th? In a 2024 article that asked this very question, Global Defense Corps spoke to a retired Major General and military strategist in the Australian Army named Mick Ryan. The S-400 is indeed a strong air defense system, Ryan said, but it also has its weak points that Ukraine has exposed. The way you take down these highly capable systems is you take a systems approach, Ryan told the outlet. It's not just fire a weapon against it. You've got to unpick all the things that defend it, whether it's sensors or other weapon systems, other air and missile and drone defense systems. Adding to this, the National Interest said way back in April 2018, the S-400 isn't a particularly good choice for dealing with low-flying targets. As impressive as its ability to detect targets up to 18 miles up in the sky may be, that doesn't mean much when an incoming missile or drone is hugging the ground en route to the S-400. Perhaps that reveals how Ukraine managed to destroy so many S-400s on November 14th. We already know that Ukraine's long-range drones can fly pretty low to the ground when needed. In October, United 24 media reported that Ukraine is operating a fleet of ultralight drones based on the Sky Ranger that are capable of low-altitude flight, which likely makes them ideal for avoiding the S-400's missiles. We don't know for certain if these were the types of drones used on November 14th, but it stands a good chance they were. However, there's something that Ryan mentioned in his statement about the S-400's weaknesses that bears repeating: sensors, or more accurately, sensors and radars. In addition to the oil terminal and S-400s that Ukraine took out on November 14th, the country's drones also targeted a pair of radar systems upon which Russia's air defenses may have been relying to detect the incoming drones. The Kyiv Post says that it spoke to a source in the SBU who confirmed the S-400 strikes. The source added the key two radars were also hit: the 96N6 early warning radar Cheese Board and the 92N6 target acquisition radar Gravestone, the Kyiv Post reports. Both of these systems were designed to see Ukraine's drones and missiles coming, and without them, Russia's S-400s were likely firing blind. It seems there's some confusion about the Cheese Board. The Kyiv Post designates it as the 96N6 system, though other sources say that it's the 96L6. Radar Tutorial is one of those sources, and assuming it's speaking about the same radar, the outlet reveals that Ukraine managed to take out a pretty strong radar system. Radar Tutorial says that the Cheese Board is used in conjunction with both the S-300 and S-400, perhaps shedding light on why it was targeted, and that it uses a phased array antenna that has 96 radiating rows. It's also designed to frequency hop, which minimizes the effectiveness of jamming and should make it so that the radar picks up targets even when electronic warfare systems are deployed. The Cheese Board can track up to 100 targets at a time. Drones are one of those types of targets, along with helicopters, aircraft, and missiles. Deagle adds that the Cheese Board is supposed to be able to track targets from 580 kilometers or around 360 miles away, and that there is an upgraded version that doubles the number of targets tracked simultaneously and boosts the range to 700 kilometers or 434 miles. This radar system would have been vital to Russia's fleet of S-400s. Taking it out was likely Ukraine's first step to opening up a route to strike Russia's air defense system. As for the 92N6 or Gravestone radar, Army Recognition said in July that this system is a key element of the S-400 Triumph, NATO designation SA-21 Growler, air defense missile system, providing critical functions in target acquisition, tracking, and guiding interceptors against a broad spectrum of airborne threats. We're starting to see a pattern here, and it's one that suggests that Ryan was on the money when he spoke about the weaknesses that Ukraine has discovered in Russia's S-400 setup. Like the Cheese Board, the Gravestone can detect up to 100 targets simultaneously, and it's supposed to provide 360-degree coverage so that Russia's air defense systems are never caught unaware. There are also several versions of the radar system, with ranges that vary between 250 and 480 kilometers, or 155 and 298 miles. Mounted to a wheeled chassis, the radar system can also go anywhere that its accompanying S-400 goes, which only adds to Army Recognition's claim that it's key to the S-400's ability to do its job. Ukraine was smart on November 14th. Following the breadcrumbs tells us that Ukraine first took out two key radar systems that Russia's S-400s needed to see incoming targets. With those systems down, the S-400s could do nothing but fire blindly, assuming they could fire at all. With the path cleared, Ukraine unleashed more drones that achieved direct hits against 4 S-400 launchers and may have damaged several more. And Ukraine pulled off this incredibly complex operation, all while hitting the Sheskharis oil terminal so hard that its operator was forced to close it down. That's about as productive a night's work as Ukraine could have hoped for, and November 14th was a nightmare for Putin as his Black Sea fortress proved unable to defend itself against Ukraine's drones. All Russia could say in response is that it managed to shoot down 66 Ukrainian drones in the Krasnodar region, where the burning oil depot is located, along with 59 over the Black Sea. Even if Russia is telling the truth, it clearly wasn't enough, as Ukraine scored direct hits on the assets that it wanted to take out. Still, it's been 3 days since Ukraine carried out this remarkable overnight strike as of the creation of this video. That means we now know that Russia has at least managed to get its burning oil terminal back online. That's according to Reuters, which reported that Transneft resumed oil loading at the Cheskharis oil terminal after a 2-day suspension to deal with the damage Ukraine caused. The outlet also has a few more details about what Ukraine hit, noting that the country's drones damaged a pair of oil berths. It's unclear if those berths are back online or if Transneft is operating without them. The fact that it's only loading 2 tankers in a port that's responsible for around 2% of the entire world's oil supply suggests that the terminal isn't fully online yet. Some might think a 2-day shutdown isn't that much of an achievement for Ukraine. They would be wrong. Earlier we mentioned some numbers that we told you we would come back to later in the video. Specifically, we mentioned that the Cheskharis oil terminal was shipping 761,000 barrels of oil per day in October. A 2-day shutdown means that 1.522 million barrels of Russia's oil were forced to stand still when they should have been en route to clients. Given that several companies, including some of China's largest oil refiners, are already switching supplies from Russia, this lack of reliability is the last thing that Russia wants its customers to see. It may even be worse than 1.522 million barrels. According to the Kyiv Independent, Novorossiysk is capable of moving more than 2 million barrels of oil per day, as it's also responsible for dealing with shipments from Kazakhstan. If that number is correct, it means that Ukraine stopped the flow of up to 4 million barrels of oil, albeit temporarily. That may cost Russia big in terms of future customers, and those costs will add to the fact that an S-400 costs around $500 million, according to CNBC. 4 of those systems being destroyed burns a $2 billion hole in Russia's war chest, and that's without even considering the cost of the radar systems that Ukraine took out. Russia lost big on November 14th. Its Black Sea fortress was penetrated, one of its most important oil terminals was shut down, and it's lost at least $2 billion and maybe more, all thanks to a brilliantly coordinated Ukrainian airstrike that Novorossiysk was supposed to be capable of shutting down. It wasn't. And now, Putin has a massive mess on his hands. Several of them, in fact, as Ukraine also unleashed its Flamingo missiles on Russia in a massive revenge strike just days before it targeted Novorossiysk. We published a video covering what Ukraine pulled off, so check it out if you'd like to learn more. And if you enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe to The Military Show for more of Ukraine's latest and greatest drone strikes against Russia. And thank you, as always, for watching.